Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use these gorgeous watercolor windows that come in the latest bundle with Gracefully Created. All of these vinyls and decals have now been released individually at gracefullycreatedccd.com, and you can use BBB10 to save 10% off of your order. We're going to create a watercolor looking base without the use of alcohol inks. And to do that, I'm going to use one of the vinyls that come in this bundle, trim it to size to fit our tumbler. We're using a 24-ounce plump from the Steel Magnolia. And we're going to put opal glitter on top of this, and it's going to give it a beautiful effect. This is one of the easiest ways to get a colorful background without having to put in all of the extra work of spray painting different colors or painting that on, or even using alcohol inks on top of your glitter. So once I have my vinyl trimmed to size, I'm going to trim off a little bit of that backing, so once I have it lined up on my tumbler, I can press that exposed piece down and then use this extra large squeegee tool to press my vinyl down as I am removing the back. Once I have overlapped my starting point, I'm going to place a piece of painter's tape right down in between the seam of where I start and the vinyl stops. Trim that with my craft blade, remove the excess over top and underneath. Once you have all of your vinyl pressed down really well, make sure you give extra attention to those edges so it's not lifted up in any areas. You can tape off the bottom, protect the rest of your tumbler where your vinyl is, and then spray paint or hand paint the bottom. I used a little extra incorporated epoxy to add on a very, very thin layer to apply our glitter. For a 24-ounce tumbler, you would probably use about a milliliter of epoxy, spread that extra thin, and then I dabbed my hand all around the tumbler to give it a little bit of texture so that it can remove any streaking from my epoxy. We're using Firefly from PDB Creative Studio for this one, and I'm just going to use two different cuts. We're using the extra fine 0.008 cut for the top and the bottom, and then in the center of the tumbler, we're using the 0.015 cut. If you're only using one color glitter on your tumbler, especially for something like this where we're using an opal so we can see the colors through, you can also use multiple cuts of that same color glitter to add even more dimension and attention to detail to your design. Once my tumbler is completely covered, I'm going to roll that up in either a piece of parchment paper or a sheet of printer paper and flatten the glitter out so I can minimize the amount of epoxy and sanding I have to do to get this smooth. I gave this 2 coats of epoxy, sanding in between those layers so we have a nice, fresh, glossy surface to add on our decal. Now, to add on our decal, we're going to trim around this window very closely because I had planned on adding on additional elements. If you want to stop here, that is absolutely fine because I think this looked beautiful with just the window decal. I placed my decal over the seam because I did plan on adding on those additional elements that would help cover above and below the window. I just trimmed off a little piece of that backing and of course lined that up on the tumbler, pressed that exposed piece of decal down once I had it straight, and then pressed the decal down as I'm removing the backing. Again, it looked wonderful as it was, but I wanted to add on some additional elements to just play more off of this design. I chose to use rub-on transfers because rub-on transfers and a white decal, meaning the ink is printed in behind the actual image, is very different in how they look on your tumblers or whatever you're working on. I feel the rub-on transfers are not as, I don't want to say bold because they are bright and vibrant and beautiful images, but they just seem to blend more in with the design than a decal that is printed on vinyl. So I feel if you use the two together, you can really make that vinyl decal your focal point and then use the rub-on transfers in the background to give your design a little extra without taking away from your main decal. Hopefully that makes sense. All of these rub-on transfers are from the Susanna collection. They're actually extras I had left over from one of my prior tumblers that I did in a tutorial. Just really, really beautiful florals and elements. So I'm going to put these 2 main ones on the back side, and then I'm going to just go in with some fillers and use all of these little leaf elements and go in between those big ones that are on the back side, and then also use them to cover up the seam that's remaining on the front side. There's no need to seal any of this in. You can go directly in with your epoxy. If you try to seal these with a clear spray paint, it can cause those rub-on transfers to crack if there is a major temperature difference between outside and inside. Ask me how I know. So I try to avoid that now altogether. What I do if I'm using a thinner viscosity epoxy, like the one I'm using here, I allow my epoxy to set up just for a couple of minutes so that it can have that thicker viscosity and be less likely to repel away from our rub-on transfers. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. All materials I have used will be listed down in the description with some coupon codes for y'all. Again, our rub-on transfers are from Southern Belle Glitter, and our main decal and our vinyl is from Gracefully Created. I will be giving away one of these bundles from Gracefully Created, so make sure that you do join our Brittany Barnes Boutique Tumblr art group and follow us on Instagram. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. That really helps us out and is a free way for you to support YouTube artists. That is all for today. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next time.